war.
A small town in Georgia may be the latest outpost in a resurgent Cold War. The fighting in South Ossetia and Abkhazia is not over mineral wealth or strategic real estate. It's about old-fashioned nationalism on both sides. The people of Georgia have always resented Russian dominance before, during and since the Soviet era. President Mikhail Saakashvili wants his country accepted into the European Union and NATO. When President Bush visited Georgia in 2005, he received a rapturous welcome and said of Saakashvili,
"The president is very clear about his intentions to meet the obligations to join NATO."
To Moscow, an intolerable provocation. Regional observers say Russian leaders now see an opportunity to flex their muscles in what's known as the near abroad.
They're not unhappy that the Americans are distracted and bogged down in Iraq, with Afghanistan and with Iran. And second, they have almost an exaggerated notion of their own ability to shape things and to control things across Eurasia.
As President, Vladimir Putin warned repeatedly that if Kosovo was allowed independence from Serbia, then South Ossetia and Abkhazia had the same right. The West went ahead and supported an independent Kosovo. Putin did not forget. But Moscow sees its sphere of influence as going far beyond Georgia, to include Ukraine, where the Russian Black Sea Fleet is still based.
If those Russian ships leave that port in the Black Sea, and if Ukraine decides that it is not going to allow those ships back into that port because Ukraine has always claimed that as Ukrainian territory, that is a potentially much greater conflagration involving a wider regional area.
There are also Russian separatists in Moldova that have long demanded independence. In the past, Russia has used economic pressure against its neighbors, cutting fuel supplies to Ukraine and halting rail services to and from Georgia. Moscow also opposes plans for a natural gas pipeline that would connect Central Asia to Western markets through Georgia, but avoid Russia. So even if this conflict is resolved, a wider struggle may continue.
There was tremendous unhappiness amongst the Siloviki, the elite now in control in Moscow, about the demise of the Soviet Union. And success would be seen in some kind of resurrection of what had been the former Soviet Union or the former Soviet bloc. This runs in contradiction with Georgia's and Ukraine's aspirations to join NATO.
Once part of the Soviet Union, many of Russia's smaller neighbors from the Baltic to the Black Sea see their future as part of a democratic Europe. But Russia is clearly ready to assert itself in what it considers its backyard. Tim Lister, CNN, Atlanta.
Well, not surprisingly, this is the top story on our website today. Go to CNN.com for all the latest news, video and analysis. You'll also find a timeline with in-depth information about the region and the history behind the conflict. Again, the website address cnn.com/international. TV in Thailand is reporting that Thaksin Shinawatra has fled Asia to avoid corruption charges. The deposed Prime Minister has reportedly flown to the UK with his wife after attending the Olympic Games. The Thai courts made an exception to allow him out of the country, but facing a court date today, Mr. Thaksin and his wife chose instead to flee to the UK. The billionaire businessman accused the courts of treating him unfairly. Aides to Pakistan's President Pervez Musharraf say that he won't resign in the face of possible impeachment by Parliament. Lawmakers are set to convene in Islamabad. CNN's Reza Sayar is watching developments there and joins us now live from the Pakistan capital. So, Reza, what needs to happen before Mr. Musharraf can be impeached?
Well, a lot of things need to happen, Adrian, but ultimately you need to have 2/3 of both houses of parliament vote to impeach it. And if that's the case, then President Musharraf is going to be gone. The actual impeachment process, if it gets to that, won't come until later this week or perhaps next, but certainly a lot of crucial activity today. Before the impeachment process, the coalition partners are drawing up a charge sheet against them. Each charge, they say, justification why he must go. Among the charges, a gross misconduct misconduct, mismanagement of the economy, mismanagement of funds. Also expect the coalition partners to accuse President Pervez Musharraf of violating the Constitution when he called for an emergency rule last November and sacked about 60 judges, among them Pakistan's Chief Justice. Once the charge sheet is complete, the coalition partners will submit it to the National Assembly, and again, with a simple majority vote, more than 50%, the impeachment process will begin unless the president resigns first. During the past 48 to 72 hours, much of the members of the coalition partners have asked President Pervez Musharraf to resign. The National Assembly will convene at 5 p.m. local time here in Islamabad. That's less than 3 hours. The impeachment is not on the agenda, but expect members of the National Assembly to speak on the issue and expect members of the Assembly to call for President Pervez Musharraf's resignation. And to top it all off, Adrian, today, August 11th, is President Pervez Musharraf's 65th birthday. Certainly not the happiest of birthdays for the embattled president, Adrian.
No, exactly. What are the president's options at the moment? How likely is it that he will resign?
Well, Adrian, he's given mixed messages. Previously, he's said that he doesn't want to be a lame duck figure and he'd rather walk away. But more recently, in the past few weeks, he's been more and more critical of the government, suggesting that he's willing to fight on. But basically, he has two options. One is to resign, and one is to fight the impeachments and face the impeachment with the vote. The coalition partners say they have more than enough votes. Expect during the next few days a lot of horse trading, campaigning on both sides. 4 votes. Again, coalition partners need 295 to impeach the president. Adrian.
All right, Reza, many thanks indeed. CNN's Reza Saya reporting live there from Islamabad. Now, grabbing the gold just ahead on World News, we'll have all the action from the water cube. It's been another good day for American swimmers. Plus, Beijing's gourmet Olympic treats, what Westerners are willing to try. Stay with us.
Armenia, Noah's root, your root.